Teacher, where are you going for the picnic this time? Cheamni. Again? Cheamni is a little village in my hometown. When I was an elementary school student, my school used to go to Cheamni church site for school field trip. It wasn't that far from the school, so we used to walk to there. Of course, we are not much interested in and had no idea about the church. We are just happy to be out of school and have kimbap. However, recently I read an article in a newspaper that a Canadian named Schofield came to the Cheamni church site. Well, it caught my attention right away, so I decided to research about him. Schofield. No, not the actor in Prison Break, the famous American drama about 30 years ago, maybe, but Dr. Schofield. In English, Dr. Schofield. He had the Korean name Schofield when he came to Korea in 1916. Dr. Schofield came to Cheamni about 100 years ago in 1919. Well, 1919 means a lot to Koreans. Yes, the March 1st independence movement occurred in that year. After the declaration of independence in Pagoda Park in Seoul, the movement started to spread throughout the nation. In early April, several young men from Cheamni led the movement in Baran Street Market. Baran is a little town near Cheamni. To suppress the movement, Japanese military force came to Cheamni and let all the villagers gather in the church. Suddenly, they blocked all the doors and windows and started shooting into the church. Then they set fire to the church and all the houses in the village. None of them was survived. Then they moved to neighboring villages and repeated the similar kind of brutality. Dr. Schofield, who was teaching at Severance Medical School at that time, heard the news about the atrocities. He took a train to Suwon and rode his bicycle to Cheamni several hours with his polio-stricken body. Polio means 소아마비. He took pictures the devastated villages with his camera and investigated the tragedy, avoiding the eyes of Japanese police. Let me share some pictures he took at that time. And he wrote a journal titled Massacre of Cheamni and reported it in a newspaper in Shanghai, which was an international city at the time. He also investigated Cheamni atrocities, helping wounded people there, and wrote a journal titled The Report of Sichuan Atrocities. It was published in a newspaper in the US. With its continuing journal reporting, Japan's cruel crimes against humanity in Korea was known to the world. It is quite interesting that he reported those news also in Japanese newspapers in Tokyo. He let not only the world, but also Japanese people know their brutality and urged to stop those crimes. He came to Sodaemun prison to see Yu Kwan-sun, Eun-hee, and others who led the March 1st movement. You know how cruelly they were tortured there. He prayed for them and consoled them. Then he went to Joseon Chongdokbu, the Japanese government in Korea at the time, and appealed to stop those inhuman brutality. Of course, Japan didn't like him and what he was doing. Finally, in 1920, he was kicked out of Korea and went back to Canada. But he didn't stop writing journals about Korea. He encouraged and exhorted Koreans through his journals to fight for independence. In 1945, finally, Korea was liberated from Japan. And 13 years later, in 1958, Dr. Schofield returned back to Korea. Teaching Seoul National University Medical School, he wrote for Korea's democracy and anti-corruption in newspapers. And he set up a scholarship foundation and an orphanage. He supported and helped poor students and took care of orphans in the time of poverty of Korea. Now let me share the screen again. Well, this is the picture of the orphanage he set up. And those are the students he helped and supported at the time. Do you know this guy? This is Jung Eun-chan, a former prime minister and the president of Seoul National University. And in front of him, this is Kim Keun-tae, a former congressman who fought for Korea's democracy. Still, there is a Schofield Scholarship Foundation today. He died in 1970 at the age of 81, and now he is buried in Seoul National Cemetery. They're just saying that Rome was not built in a day. Same to Korea. Korea was not built in a day, and not just by few heroes. There were many unknown heroes and heroines in our history. Even foreign heroes and heroines who fought for our country. They so deserve to be remembered. Now I wish Dr. Schofield is listening to my speech. And I wish he knows that he is remembered by a lady who came from Cheamni and smiles in heaven. Thank you.